Assalamualaikum warahmatullah, guys. Welcome back to our analysis of sustainability and Islamic finance. I have earlier mentioned about the weak oversight of the SDG values on usury or riba, which Islamic finance do not take any strong view why this have been left out in the SDG value system. Instead, Islamic finance have taken the Maqasid Sharia route to justify SDG as well as the ESG triple bottom line, profit, people and planet agenda. And to some extent, Islamic finance have been found to provide greater focus on the planet first, especially on the circular flow issue, but yet leaving people and planet, people and profit behind. So this is where, riba and usury need to be further examined because they are the one responsible for the, business cycle, the recession and inflation besieging the economies over centuries, and yet riba and usury have been left behind from the ESG, element. So to some extent, the big sin or the big sin stocks such as alcohol, weaponry, and gaming, these are the sin stock in the ESG system, but then stocks whereby riba flourish, is not given any kind of insightful assessment to ascertain their standing with regards to this ESG value. So when usury is not seen as an issue in the SDG system, so we can see that Islamic finance have been leaving out this usury problem, which indirectly imply that they are leaving people and profit behind, because it is the evil of usury and riba that have been, creating severe, destruction of wealth and life all over the globe in the past. But then Islamic finance, instead of trying to further intensify their war against riba and usury, they instead get into the social finance craze, by picking up pieces of Islamic economic such as zakat and wakaf. So Islamic economics were dominant in the 60s and 70s and 80s until when it was taken over by Islamic finance, because Islamic finance and Islamic finance is just a project. Islamic banking is a project of Islamic economics. Then now, because there is no other modality that Islamic finance can leverage on to further champion their activity, so they get into the social finance, which is relevant to SDG value, and they have adopted zakat and wakaf, sadaqah, hibah as one of the program to champion Islamic finance in the perspective of sustainability. But then, while doing that, the focus on eliminating riba and promoting AlBay, has not been good enough, to justify the importance of AlBay as the Quran has intended it to be. So Islamic finance must get its priority right in this sustainability agenda they seem content riding on the great ideas of the World Economic Forum. So we know very well that the World Economic Forum is driven by the billionaires, and these billionaires are the captains of capitalism. For example, they don't sell their stocks. If they need liquidity, they don't sell their stocks to get hold of the cash to undertake their respective project. But what they will do is to take bank loan, or cheap credit, and using their stocks as collateral. So this billionaire do not pay taxes, and the tax and the interest expense are tax deductible, so they are getting richer. So that is why riba and usury to this sustainable movement is instrumental to their survival and success. So we Islamic finance, sadly as expected, have nothing meaningful to contribute. So sadly as expected, nothing meaningful is coming from Islamic finance to surprise this sustainability agenda, right? So we are reactive to the movement. When we talk about impacting investment, responsible financing, social finance, these are all borrowed ideas from SDG values, and there's nothing fresh coming from the Islamic finance. Islamic finance, as we know, are struggling to put their label right. As we know that it is highly difficult to use AlBay because of the high capital charges accorded to the AlBay asset when funding is coming from deposit. And when central banking has come up with the idea of resharing, still we can see that there isn't any dramatic interest to do AlBay, but many of these countries have been doing murabaha all along, right? One of the most important development is the use of investment account fund to undertake the AlBay asset, which we hope can provide a very good case study for the world to see how this can be done by Islamic finance and banking. But yet, as far as we know today, this investment account fund, especially in Malaysia, many of which we use to do tawaruq, instead of doing mudarabah and musyarakah, instead of doing real sale and real leasing, the investment account fund has been released to finance tawaruq, right? So what has happened to this philosophy of profit loss sharing and resharing? We know very well that to do mudarabah, musyarakah, to do startup financing, we need equity fund. Now, this equity fund can be raised through the investment account ecosystem. We cannot rely on the deposit fund to do through sale, through lease, mudarabah, musyarakah. But we have the Central Bank of Malaysia have instituted the investment account fund system, to provide some fresh spaces for Islamic bank to offer real sale, real lease, mudarabah, musyarakah, istisna. But yet, we may take it a bit longer to promote and to have it, applied on a wholesale basis, because I presume that people are not ready to take risk, right? People are afraid to put their money into risky venture. So that is why I presume that the Islamic Bank felt that maybe in the first stage, this investment account can be invested in murabaha, but yet if they were doing tawaruq financing funded by investment account, I think this is really disappointing situation. The Sharia advisor, should be more sensitive, should be having more empathy to encourage the Islamic bank to do more of the AlBay product, like real estate, real leasing. These are real sector products that small business and startup can undertake, and we do hope that there is some understanding and empathy by the Sharia advisor, the regulator, Bank Negara, as well as the bank, to get this investment account to fly and to prove to the world that we have something to surprise the ESG agenda, what Islamic finance can do to enhance human survival and happiness on earth, inshallah. Okay guys, please comment and subscribe. I hope we can see you again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yes.